Hello! So somebody asked me a question about like 3 months ago. They wanted to know what it's like hitting the road as a climber, and I said I would totally answer them, and then I never did. And so this is me trying to answer that question right now. Hey Kaya, can you make a video about hitting the road as a climber? How skilled were you when you started? How often do you climb with knowledgeable climbers, and how often are you taking novices? And most importantly, how do you not get in over your head? So, I'm a rock climber. That's why I live in a van. When I first had the plan to hit the road as a rock climber, I had no partner, no crack climbing technique, no trad rack, and no experience. So what did I do? I decided to drive to the crack climbing, trad climbing mecca in Indian Creek. I was just gonna show up and see what happened. I figured that I could find a partner while I was there. I had so little understanding of how crack climbing worked that I brought my rack of quick draws and thought that I would just be able to clip the bolts that would be there. If you trad climb, you understand how silly that sounds. It's safe to say, when I started on this journey to climb outdoors full-time, I was completely unprepared. I had no idea what I was doing. So I drove myself out to Indian Creek and I showed up, and there was this woman, Sarah, and she had written on the message board, she said, "I'm looking for partners." I pulled up, said, "Hey, I'm also looking for a partner." And bless her heart, she didn't tell me to go take a hike, because I basically said, "Yeah, I have a rope and a bunch of quick draws and I don't know how to crack climb. Will you teach me?" And she was like, "Oh, yikes. Sure." I am eternally grateful to Sarah because she basically showed me how to crack climb. In summary, I was a huge kook and I had no idea what I was doing. So to answer your first question, to get started, you can be a huge kook and have no idea what you're doing. It didn't stop me from falling in love with trad climbing. And at the end of my trip there, I led a couple climbs. I did the South 6 shooter, which is actually this tattoo. I ended up getting a tattoo of it. So I did the South 6 shooter, which is that one right there. This is the skyline in Indian Creek. So that's the South 6 shooter, that's the North 6 shooter. These are the Bridger Jacks. That was my first trad lead ever. I did this really wide climb called Tomcat, which was hard, and then some hun named 510 at Scarface Wall. By the end of the trip, I was absolutely in love with trad climbing. As a climber, I have climbed with a lot of different people at a lot of different skill levels. And I think that when you're starting out, one of the things that people are concerned about is that they're not very good and they don't want to climb with people who are really good. I like climbing with people who are just getting started, because I get to re-experience that love of climbing through somebody else's eyes. And I often climb with people who are much, much stronger than me. And I also like doing that because when I climb with people who are much stronger than me, I learn things from them. So, to answer your question, if you are thinking of getting into rock climbing and want to do it full time, I would say do it, but try to keep in mind that climbing is dangerous. I have seen people pop pieces and fall really far. I've seen stitches in people's heads from falling on a climb, popping a piece, and hitting the ground. We call it decking. I know people who have taken really bad falls and broken their bodies and had to take, 6 months off climbing. So it is dangerous. All of that said, climbing is the most rewarding thing I have ever decided to do with my life. When I'm climbing, I try to remind myself that any day I go climbing is a good day. Doesn't matter if I'm climbing 5'5", doesn't matter if I'm attempting 5'12", it's all good, all of it. If you're trying to start out, I would really recommend going with a friend who knows what they're doing and actually knows what they're doing, isn't just pretending to know what they're doing. And also, gyms these days have a lot of classes, and taking classes is a really good way to test the waters, see if you like it. I started climbing in a gym. I started bouldering in a gym, and now I'm trad climbing outside, and those two things are completely as different as climbing could be. So be safe, but take some risks, put some gear in and climb a foot above it and take a fall. Make sure it's good gear, make sure there's another piece below it, but see how it feels, then put some more in and do that again. Climb something that you feel confident in, and then once you feel good on that, try something a little harder. I think I'm going to leave it there because I could talk about climbing all day, every day, and I do because it's all I want to do with my time and my life, and everything I do is dedicated to climbing. So I could talk about it forever, and I probably will more, but this is where I'm going to leave it. If you have any more questions about living in a van, traveling around, rock climbing, any of those things, please let me know down in the comments. I will do my best to answer your questions. You can also hit me up on all the social media channels at One Chick Travels for Instagram, Facebook. My website is onechicktravels.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Kaya Says, and I just launched a Patreon, and so you can find me there if you'd like to support these videos and more adventures to come at patreon.com/OneChickTravels. If nothing else, I will see you guys next time.